They chained him in a dungeon, ripped out his tongue, and tortured him for 3 years. Ryun was born into the strongest, noble family, but cursed to be powerless. When his family fell, everyone called him useless. But death wasn't the end. He woke up 12 years old again, with every memory intact. This time, he didn't fight fair. He let the world believe he was weak, while pulling every string from the shadows. Assassins fell, nobles bled, traitors vanished. The Dragon of Dre had returned. The story begins deep inside a dark, filthy dungeon. There, the youngest prince of the Sermon family, Ryun, is chained to a cold stone wall, being tortured purely for amusement. His body is beaten beyond recognition, blood dripping from nearly every inch of his skin. The one responsible for this cruelty is Lord Sanspartan, the monster who destroyed Ryun's once powerful family. The reason Ryun ended up in this nightmare was painfully simple. Every member of the Sermon family inherited extraordinary power, yet the youngest prince was born with none. When Sans mockingly curses at the stubborn insect that refuses to die, Ryun tries to beg him to end his suffering. But the white-haired scum merely sneers. He cannot understand a word Ryun says. That is because Sans ripped out Ryun's tongue long ago. On the 3rd anniversary of the Sermon family's destruction, the Lord finally grows bored of his game and casually leaves the dungeon. Left alone once more, Ryun struggles to believe that 3 years have passed since that day. The Sermon family once stood as humanity's vanguard, guarding the border of the Dark Zone, a mysterious land that endlessly spawned monsters. Because of this sacred duty, they were the strongest of the 5 noble families on the continent. Then, one day, Ryun's father and older brothers vanished without a trace. No one ever learned what happened to them, and that moment marked the beginning of the family's downfall. Lord Sanspartan seized this opportunity, using every dirty method imaginable to drag the Sermons into ruin. His true objective was the Sermon family's dragon blood, a rare blessing granted only to true descendants. This blood allowed its bearers to become 7th-rank archmages in childhood and sword masters by the age of 15. However, an ancient curse left behind by the former demon lord Ark could nullify this blessing. The curse appeared only once every few centuries and affected just a single child. Unfortunately, Ryun was that child. Because of it, he could never learn swordsmanship or cast magic. Sitting alone in the dungeon, Ryun weeps over his helplessness, the weakness that allowed the Parton family to destroy everything he loved. To make matters worse, Sans spent 3 long years torturing and experimenting on him after ruining his life. Now he is too exhausted even to feel anger. As he senses death drawing near, Ryun quietly closes his eyes, hoping to finally find peace. But the world has other plans. Ryun opens his eyes once more. He freezes when he sees a familiar face calling him young master. Confused, he stares at Colin, his maid and caretaker, standing before him as if nothing ever happened. As realization slowly dawns on him, he urgently orders her to bring a mirror. What he sees leaves him speechless. His reflection shows a much younger version of himself. With a trembling voice, he asks what year it is. When Colin answers, Ryun feels the ground vanish beneath his feet. He has somehow returned to when he was 12 years old. This is no ordinary point in time. This is the very year everything began to crumble, the moment the Parton family first made their move. As Ryun recalls the Golden Lord's final words about granting his wish, the truth becomes clear. Just then, a dignified man enters the room after hearing of Ryun's collapse. Colin immediately bows. Ryun instantly recognizes him as Alejandro, the revered knight commander of the Sermon family. Alejandro tells him to rest, citing his fragile condition. Colin supports him, saying she had warned them this would happen. To their shock, Ryun calmly replies that he feels better than ever. He then asks what today's training will focus on. Alejandro is stunned. Ryun is refusing an excuse to skip practice. He explains that today's lesson will be footwork training and wonders aloud if this boy is truly the youngest prince. Ryun simply grabs his training sword and smiles confidently. There's no doubt about it, he says. I am Ryun Sermon. With the experience and power he gained during his brutal years in Edean, Ryun is fully prepared to face whatever comes his way. This is his one and only chance to fix everything, to settle the score with that pale parasite, Lord Sanspartan. He opens his status window and feels a wave of relief when he sees that his skills are not complete trash. To his surprise, his double S-rank curse is still listed there as well. Just then, Alejandro enters the room and announces that the preparations are complete. Ryun closes the status screen and follows him outside. They arrive at the training arena, where a goblin is chained at the center, shrieking like a deranged gremlin as it thrashes violently. The monster lunges toward Ryun, only for the chains to snap it back into place. The tension in the air spikes instantly. Colin panics and begs the Knight Commander to stop this madness, insisting that the young master's condition is far from ideal. Ryun understands her concern. Just yesterday, he could not even stand in the presence of monsters. But now something clicks. He focuses, telling himself that he finally understands what he must do. Warnings flash repeatedly across his system interface. Arcane's curse is activating once more. This is the same curse that turns even weak monsters into living nightmares for him. As Ryun stares at the status screen, he finally comprehends what the curse truly represents. He takes a deep breath and steadies himself. Alejandro tells him he can rest for the day, but Ryun shakes his head and steps forward, saying he is far from finished. The moment he moves, the goblin lunges again. Its clawed swipe catches him off guard, and he instinctively slides backward in pure fear before forcing himself to stop. He scolds his own mind. It is just a filthy goblin. There is no reason to be afraid. A grin spreads across his face. This creature does not even come close to the pressure he felt from that lord back in Eden. That presence alone had frozen him completely, as if he were nothing more than an insect. Compared to that, this pathetic monster is barely a warm-up. Ryun raises his training sword and brings it down hard on the goblin's head. Thunk! A clean, satisfying strike. Alejandro and Colin freeze, their mouths hanging open in shock. A system message appears, informing Ryun that he has pushed through the curse and weakened its hold. He looks down at the cracked training sword in his hands, then at the goblin trembling on the ground. Another message pops up. He no longer feels fear toward monsters. After a brief pause, Ryun turns to Alejandro and calmly orders him to bring a real sword. The Knight Commander hesitates, while Colin looks moments away from fainting. Ryun flashes a confident smile at the old man, and something about it makes the seasoned knight flush as he realizes the young master has finally changed, truly changed. The goblin begins to shake violently the moment Ryun looks at it again, as if it already knows its end has arrived. Ryun swings without hesitation, ending the creature's suffering with a single, merciless strike. Alejandro tells Colin to watch carefully, for they are witnessing the rise of the next head of House Sermon. After the fight, Ryun leaves the arena and splashes cold water on his face, steadying his breathing. He stares at his reflection, relieved that the system and status window helped him break a portion of the curse. He slams both hands onto the sink, excitement bubbling within him. This means he has room to grow, real potential waiting to be unlocked. That excitement quickly fades when he reviews the experience points gained. At this rate, he would need to kill millions of goblins just to level up properly. He clenches his fists, reminding himself that he needs to grow stronger and fast before that dreaded day arrives for House Sermon. Still, one truth is now clear. The curse is not absolute. It can be broken. Staring at the system, Ryun swears to himself that he will not waste this chance. Shifting into analysis mode, he recalls the current state of House Sermon. His father and siblings have been missing for over 2 years, leaving the house in disarray. Even weakened, Ryun still holds an important position, which is the only reason their enemies have not yet made a move. Suddenly, he pumps his fist into the air in excitement. He has finally found a way to raise his level. Now, it is time to test the second method. The scene shifts. A beautiful woman dressed in red, her face hidden behind an elegant mask, steps through the doors of the mansion. The two of them sit together over tea and begin to talk. Sina mentions that she heard about the goblin hunt and smiles faintly before asking if he called her for magic training. She is Sina, the head of the magic division of House Sermon. Like the Knight Commander, she is a 7th-ranked mage whose abilities are nothing short of terrifying. Very little is known about her past or her true strength. Only the head of the family knows the full truth. She gently sets her teacup down and her expression turns serious. She warns Ryun not to let a simple goblin hunt inflate his ego, reminding him that magic is an entirely different world. She explains that she never trained him before because she judged that he possessed absolutely no magical talent. Ryun smirks. He already knows that much. Arcane's curse never even allowed him to sense mana, let alone control it. But everything changed yesterday. With quiet confidence, he tells her that he can feel mana now. The words visibly shake her. She sets the tea aside and, with a flick of her fingers, forms the image of a cool blue fire dragon in the air. She tells him to slowly open his eyes. If he can truly see mana, he should be able to recognize the shape she just drew with her magic. Sina is left completely speechless when Ryun answers correctly without a second of hesitation. It makes no sense. Awakening mana perception overnight is impossible. Yet the fact that he can clearly see her spell means his understanding of mana is somehow equal to, or even surpassing, her own. She begins pacing the room in agitation, wondering how a child could progress so absurdly fast. Then Ryun calmly reveals the truth. His ability to see mana is almost useless. He can perceive it clearly, but he cannot use the Sermon family's magic development techniques. Because of that, he asks her to help him break through that wall. She is stunned. He cannot even store mana inside his body. Forcing magic into him would require her to directly pour her own power into him. She warns him that she could kill him at any moment during the process. Ryun shrugs and replies that she could one-shot him even without magic, so it hardly matters. What he does not say is the real reason. She is the only person he trusts with his life. In the previous timeline, Sina remained by his side until the very end. Even after her mana ran dry, she protected him with her own body. Remembering that, Ryun asks again, telling her there is no one else he would ever entrust his life to. After a long silence, Sina finally agrees. She begins with blue earth magic, a secret technique passed down through the Sermon family for generations. She believes it is far too early for him, but Ryun has already mastered it through countless battles in Edion. Once she prepares the spell, she tells him to focus with everything he has. He is about to enter a world of pain. There will be no point in screaming or crying. The only way to stop the technique is to will it to end with every fiber of his being. As she describes the pain, memories of Sand's twisted experiments flash through Ryun's mind. After surviving that hell, nothing in this world can scare him anymore. Calmly, he tells Sina that he trusts her completely and asks her to stop holding back. Hearing those words, she finally releases her full magic power into him. Arcane's curse activates instantly. Mana pours out of his body as quickly as it flows in. Still, Ryun handles it with practiced precision, controlling every fragment of energy during the brief moment it remains inside him. The curse forces the mana to violently explode outward, but he concentrates that explosion into a single point, a loophole within the curse itself. Sina stares in disbelief. None of the energy she pours into him is leaking out. Ryun continues pushing forward, even as every vessel in his body feels like it is on the verge of bursting. He does not hesitate. Compared to the countless near-death battles he survived in Edion, this pain is familiar. In that hellish dimension, he became the strongest human mage alive. Even after the reversal of time, every technique he mastered there remains perfectly etched into his memory. Suddenly, he absorbs the condensed energy into his body in one decisive motion. Sina immediately cuts off the flow of mana. Ryun collapses to the floor, curling into himself as waves of overwhelming pain crash through his body. Still, this agony is nothing compared to what he once endured. The torture and twisted experiments performed on him by Sand's doctors were far worse. One night during that hell, he witnessed a black-robed figure break into the underground laboratory and cut the doctors down one by one. Though badly wounded himself, the masked man dragged Ryun out of the basement. When Ryun later regained consciousness, he learned the truth. It was Alejandro who had rescued him. The Knight Commander apologized repeatedly for not arriving sooner, for failing to save him before the monsters in white coats destroyed so much of him. Even so, Ryun had been grateful beyond words just to see him again after 3 long years of separation. That reunion did not last. Parton family guards appeared suddenly, loosing a rain of arrows that pierced Alejandro's back as he fled. Reliving that nightmare, Ryun jolts awake in the present, tears streaming down his face. He exhales shakily. Though relieved that the magic experiment succeeded, the resurfacing memory sours the moment. Clenching his fists, he resolves to use this newly gained power to ensure that kind of ending never happens again. Even now, he knows he must remain cautious. His growth cannot be revealed, not yet. If the Parton family senses something is wrong, they will act immediately. To prevent that, Ryun quietly begins forming a new plan. The first step is simple. He will crush House Sermon's enemies ahead of schedule, long before the Partons ever get the chance to move. Sometime later, Ryun scratches his head and casually announces that he failed the magic cultivation process. Both Sina and Alejandro freeze, completely stunned. After a brief, awkward silence, Ryun realizes he cannot tell them the truth, not even after everything they have done for him. He has never hidden anything from them before, but explaining his situation would only complicate matters. Flexing his fingers, he says he tried his best but cannot feel even a trace of mana anymore. He tells Sina she can check as many times as she wants. She steps forward without hesitation. Activating a detection spell, Sina grips his hand as mana flows from her body into his. Her eyes widen in shock. "That's impossible," she whispers. Ryun maintains a calm smile as she pulls away. Her voice trembles as she confirms there is no mana left anywhere inside him. She was certain, absolutely certain, that she felt mana flowing through him just yesterday. Overwhelmed and frustrated, Sina wipes her eyes and quietly leaves the room, even as Ryun calls after her. Once the door closes, Alejandro turns to him and reminds him that night training still awaits. Ryun forces a nervous smile and claims he cannot do that either. He offers a weak excuse, saying he barely managed to eat after the last training session, something Colin can confirm. The color drains from the Knight Commander's face. He says nothing, but a deep, silent despair settles over him. 2 months later, Colin bursts into Ryun's room with tears in her eyes, saying he still did not come out today. With Ryun's father and brothers gone, the lady of the house shoulders every responsibility, keeping the family afloat through sheer will. Even she, however, is slowly reaching her breaking point. Colin returns to the kitchen, where the servants immediately ask whether the young master refused to come out again. The butler sighs and replies that it has been 3 months since Ryun last killed that goblin. He doesn't even answer Alejandro anymore. Another maid mutters that people often lose themselves when they try to change too fast, and that placing hope in him now is pointless. Colin snaps back, defending the young master, insisting that he truly gave it everything he had that day. Her voice falters when someone casually mutters his old nickname. The bad luck of the Sermon family. Outside the estate, rumors grow even harsher. In the city, people have begun calling him the useless trash of House Sermon. Hearing those words, his loyal mate explodes in anger, shouting that he is only 12 years old. The butler sighs and tells Colin that expectations are everything for a noble. Once those expectations shatter, everything else soon follows. Another maid quietly adds that servants have already begun quitting one by one. After a moment of hesitation, the butler admits that he, too, plans to leave soon. He then turns to Colin and asks what choice she will make. She remains silent. The scene shifts to Ryun, calmly cutting into a medium-rare steak. As he chews, he notes that the quality of the meals has noticeably declined, a clear sign that everything is about to fall apart. Instead of panicking, a devilish smile spreads across his face. Things are moving exactly as he planned. He reflects that his past self would have desperately struggled to hold everything together, only to slowly wither away in the process. But that Ryun is gone. This version of him is different. He intends to lie low and let every enemy believe he is weak, broken, and defenseless. Then, when the perfect opening appears, he will strike without mercy and wipe them all out. He recalls how the downfall of House Sermon truly began, the day the head of the family went missing and the search party never returned. His older brothers vanished under similar circumstances, and soon after, the family's funding began to dry up. The training grounds that once overflowed with elite knights are now occupied by only a handful of weak trainees. Powerful families that once sought alliances quietly distanced themselves as well. Oddly enough, Ryun is not particularly bothered by any of it. The silence and peace allow him to live his secret life undisturbed. Still, he finds the family's decline far too slow for his liking. He wants to accelerate things. Just then, the door bursts open. Colin storms in and declares that it is time for training. The Knight Commander is already waiting. Ryan's good mood instantly shatters. He groans and says he wants to skip today as well. Colin refuses to accept that. She yanks the covers off him and slowly approaches with unshakable determination before lifting him up bridal style. With a deadly serious expression, she carries him out of the room and announces that she will never abandon this family. Ryan, meanwhile, simply enjoys the free ride. At the training grounds, Alejandro immediately scolds him for his sloppy sword swings. He lectures him endlessly, insisting that swinging a sword is the simplest thing in the world. Ryan can only sigh, thinking that the old man still has not given up on him. He wants to repay that loyalty one day, but for now, he cannot allow anyone to discover that he has been training in secret. He even activates a body alteration skill to hide his true physique, though the skill is still unstable. Suddenly, a system notification flashes. Stamina increased. Ryan's eyes widen. He instantly makes an excuse about needing the bathroom and bolts away, leaving a confused Alejandro behind. Staring at his reflection, he confirms that the skill collapses the moment he moves too quickly. Opening his status window, Ryan smiles. His hidden training is finally paying off. He estimates that he will reach level 20 soon. When that happens, he plans to use his stat points to unlock the Ghost class, just like he did back in the Gulag, while continuing to develop his other classes as well. As he exits, he notices Alejandro speaking with a stranger and wonders if a guest has arrived. He quickly recognizes the man as Truno, the general manager of House Sermon. Truno bows apologetically and hands Ryan a sealed scroll. Something feels different this time, yet the outcome remains the same. Alejandro already seems to understand what it is as Ryan reads the letter. It is an invitation from Kyle, the second prince of the Kingdom of Darren, inviting Ryan to his birthday celebration. Ryan smirks. The final piece of his plan has fallen into place. Soon, the young prince finds himself traveling toward the Darren estate, still half asleep. The night before, Colin had far too much fun dressing him up, determined to make him look as refined as possible. She begged to accompany him, but neither she nor his other retainers were allowed to come. Alejandro had been dispatched to suppress a sudden monster assault at the border, an attack that came without warning. Meanwhile, Sina was forced to leave urgently after receiving a summons from her mother. And so, Ryan travels alone, exactly as planned. In the end, it leaves a 12-year-old family head, one with crippled social skills, traveling alone to represent the entire House Sermon. Truno reassures Ryan that he should not worry too much. The Darren family is not foolish enough to pull anything reckless. But Ryan knows that kind of safety only applied to the former House Sermon. In the past, they would have simply sent a retainer to attend such frivolous events. Now, in its weakened state, Ryan has no choice but to appear in person as the official head of the house. Strangely, he does not resent it. He still feels responsible for how quickly everything collapsed. A few hours later, his carriage comes to a halt before the gates of the Darren estate. Waiting outside are Kyle Darren himself and an entire troop of maids lined up to receive him. Truno offers thanks on Ryan's behalf for the grand welcome, but Ryan can already feel it, the countless eyes fixed squarely on him. As he passes through the reception hall, whispers trail behind him. Rumors, speculation, wild theories about House Sermon's downfall and failures. Ryan merely smirks. This is exactly how he planned it. He makes things even worse when he greets the nobles with a weak, awkward hello, devoid of polish or respect. The sheer lack of decorum causes nearly everyone within a mile radius to mentally facepalm in disappointment. Later, in the dining wing, one of Ryan's escorts expresses surprise that the young master has not left his room for 5 straight days. Arriving a full week before the actual celebration is meant for building relationships. After all, the escort captain scoffs and tells him not to get his hopes up. After the disaster Ryan displayed during the reception, expectations are already rock bottom. He cannot believe the boy is hiding away when the banquet food alone is worth killing for. Every luxury imaginable, including beautiful noble ladies. Just then, Another man rushes in and informs the captain to gather his men. The young master will attend the banquet after all. The two immediately celebrate, relieved that they will not miss out on the festivities. The messenger also reminds them to prepare a proper report and to make sure any of the prince's mistakes are quietly omitted. As for Ryun, he has spent the entire time training silently in his room, patiently waiting. While he does plan to use the banquet to bribe his escorts into altering his report, that is not his true objective. His real plan lies elsewhere. After all, the day of the banquet is the exact day the bane of his existence arrives at the Darren estate. The chatter among the noble ladies dies instantly when Lord Sanspartan steps inside. A suffocating silence spreads as everyone deliberately avoids making eye contact with him. Truno tries to do the same, but Sans walks straight toward him without hesitation. Left with no choice, Truno forces a smile and begins flattering him about the honor of meeting such a distinguished guest. Sans, however, does not bother with pleasantries. He openly states that he heard the mighty Ryun's sermon has also arrived, and that he wishes to meet him. Truno pretends ignorance. Sans simply clarifies. He is referring to the sermon family's greatest mistake, the one destined to bring their house to ruin. Truno feels his blood run cold. He knows Sans is under immense pressure as the most talented mage of the Parton family, but he never expected him to openly insult the head of House Sermon within Darren territory, a domain firmly under Darren authority. Then Sans smoothly flips the script. He laughs and claims the rumor must be false. In fact, he says he came to personally debunk such foolish slander tarnishing the great sermon name. Truno does not believe a word. After all, this is coming from the biggest dirtbag on the continent. Rumor has it that Sans began drinking at the age of 7, and even murdered one of his own subjects. At that moment, the doors swing open. Ryun enters the hall, flanked by his escorts. Sans' eyes light up with excitement. Truno nearly has a seizure. Why now? Of all possible moments, why now? Yet the instant Ryun steps forward, the atmosphere shifts. His presence is radiant, calm, composed, and utterly unexpected. Nobles who had already dismissed him are forced to reevaluate their assumptions. For the first time that night, every gaze in the hall is drawn not to Sanspartan, but to Ryun's sermon. Seeing Ryun now, many nobles instinctively begin to reconsider everything they once believed. His presence alone shakes their assumptions. Sans, however, burns with jealousy. Ryun overshadows him instantly, simply by existing as a sermon. Unable to tolerate it, Sans steps forward, only for Ryun to move first. With a polite smile, he tells Sans that he has heard quite a lot about him, from the fourth prince, his brother Lars. Sans smirks. He replies that he has heard plenty about Ryun as well. Before he can continue, Ryun calmly interrupts. He says Sans is known as a truly kind person. The room stills. Ryun goes on to praise Sans' legendary reputation at the academy, mentioning how popular he was, so popular, in fact, that he had to drop out after only a few months. Then, with effortless grace, Ryun recounts the stories behind that fame. How Sans once saved a poor student from a bully. How he protected a female student from being harassed by a shameless waste of oxygen. The words land like poison wrapped in silk. Sans' smile twitches. Inside, he is seething, but Ryun is not finished. Casually, almost absent-mindedly, Ryun mentions something about a knee. That is when Truno abruptly steps in. Feigning cheer, he laughs and explains that Sans once helped Prince Lars by bringing him medicine for an injured knee. Without giving Sans a chance to react, Truno quickly ushers Ryun away before the tension can explode. Ryun is perfectly satisfied. He has just grilled the white-haired parasite alive, politely. Sans, on the other hand, takes the mockery as a clear declaration of war. Still, that rage was only the second step of Ryun's plan. Back in his private room, Sans finally loses control. He smashes a flower pot against the floor, shards scattering everywhere as he spits venomous curses about Ryun. As he replays the conversation, a chilling realization sets in. Lars knows. Not that he dropped out, but that he was expelled. Sans clutches his head, cursing under his breath. All that effort to bury the incident, wasted. Then his thoughts drift back to the mention of knees. That truth must never come out. A flashback slams into him. He is standing tall, forcing confidence into his posture while struggling to breathe. Lightning crackles around Lars, whose expression is colder than ice. You've really messed up this time. Sans stammers excuses, insisting he did not know the girl was Lars's partner, that he was merely greeting a commoner. Lars cuts him off. Before anything else, he says, everyone at the academy is a student. Then comes the order. Kneel. Lars warns him that if he does not apologize from the depths of his soul, the entire Parton family will be crushed, and Sans himself will be personally erased. Sans collapses to his knees in total humiliation, lightning still aimed at his skull. Back in the present, Sans screams in frustration and vows to continue his plans. No matter what it takes, he will silence Lars's younger brother. Eventually, he forces himself to calm down. Revenge will come. A knock at the door interrupts his thoughts. He grants permission to enter, only to raise an eyebrow in surprise when the figure steps inside. It is Trinohilda. Time skips forward. The prince's party has ended, and Ryun rides home in his carriage. He reflects calmly. Every objective was achieved. He presented himself exactly as intended and successfully rage-baited Sans, who took the hook instantly. Trino breaks the silence, praising Ryun's performance and confessing that, for the first time in a long while, he feels there is still hope for House Sermon. Ryun immediately calls him out. He points out that he made no meaningful connections and openly antagonized House Parton. Trino hastily corrects himself, saying that Ryun's speech against Sans was nothing short of perfection. Ryun chuckles. Then he presses the button in the center of the carriage. Trino stiffens. Why, young master? Why did you activate the soundproof spell? Ryun's smile fades. If Trino truly believed there was hope, he would never have chosen to betray the house. Trino begins to sweat, his voice shaking as he asks what the young master means. Ryun tells Trino that his crime is unforgivable, but he is choosing to let it slide, because everything the man did was ultimately for House Sermon. The general manager lowers his gaze and quietly asks how Ryun found out. Ryun replies that Trino has a choice to make right now, just as he always did in the past. He should judge himself. As the carriage races forward, Ryun finally reveals the secret plan he has been hiding. The moment Trino understands it, his mind goes blank. He can only stare at the boy in disbelief, unable to comprehend how someone so young could devise something so cold and calculated. After a few seconds, he buries his face in his hands and breaks down in tears, saying that he wants nothing more than to shout with pride at the top of his lungs. Ryun accepts his choice. Calmly, he informs Trino that they have already passed beyond the capital's outer boundary. Trino looks at him again, shaken. How can this child remain so composed when he knows exactly what is about to happen? Then he realizes something chilling. That expression on Ryun's face is not a smile. It is pure killing intent. Suddenly, the carriage lurches violently to a halt. A knight riding alongside shouts for the driver to keep moving, but the man inside has already slumped forward, dead. An arrow whistles past the knight's face, missing him by inches. Ambush, someone roars. Protect the carriage. Another knight shouts a warning, poison magic arrows. The mages immediately raise a defensive barrier as arrows rain down. The knight captain takes command, batting projectiles aside and demanding that the attackers show themselves. Then another knight senses something wrong. Captain, don't approach the carriage, even if it's an ally. The captain hesitates, then looks inside. The carriage is empty. Panic spreads. Ryun's sermon has been kidnapped. Unbeknownst to them, he is already far away, being carried on horseback through the night. Lying behind Trino, Ryun calmly counts the time. In his previous life, this was the moment everything truly collapsed. His family had poured their remaining wealth and manpower into searching for him. That desperate effort was what finally broke House Sermon. This time is different, because he knows the future. That is why, after returning to the past, Ryun made no attempt to save his family's reputation. He deliberately allowed their decline. He wanted every noble house to see him as a complete failure. And unlike most families, the Partons did not immediately kill the weak. They toyed with them. Ryun was certain they would eventually make a move, and as expected, Sans Parton fell straight into the trap. Ryun knew Sans would act during the journey back to the capital, which is why everything had already been prepared, including Trino. The general manager had indeed been approached by the Parton family and ordered to kidnap the young master. Ryun had uncovered this long ago, and instead of stopping it, he turned it into the core of his plan. Quietly, Ryan orders Truno to proceed exactly as agreed. If you do, he adds, I'll forgive everything. As the horse gallops through the night, Ryan checks his status. Level 20. Perfect. Eventually, they reach their destination. Truno dismounts and carefully hands over Ryan's limp body, still pretending to be unconscious, to Sans Parton himself. To Sans, nothing seems amiss. According to their agreement, Sans hands Truno the information he requested, claiming it was obtained through the Asen family's intelligence network. Seeing Truno's hesitation, Sans scoffs and explains that while the Asen family is a noble house of the Dree continent, selling information is their true business. These documents are reliable, Sans says. They contain everything. Eyewitness reports regarding the mission involving House Sermon's direct descendants. Hearing this, Ryan finally understands. This is why Truno sold him. In Truno's eyes, Ryan is a lost cause, a powerless child who can do nothing to restore House Sermon. But his elder brothers? They might still be alive. They might still be able to reclaim everything that was lost. Truno always knew the Asen family possessed this information, but it was impossible for him to obtain it directly, so he used the Parton family. As he takes his leave, Truno bows and reminds Sans of their final agreement. The young master is to be returned safely to House Sermon. Sans smiles, and Ryan, still unconscious, smiles even wider. Once Truno leaves, Sans and his servants approach Ryan's unconscious body. One of the servants asks if he should simply kill the boy. Sans scoffs and shakes his head. There's no need, he says coldly. His own family will abandon him soon enough. In their eyes, he's already the culprit. With the main plan complete, Sans prepares to return. Moments later, Ryan slowly opens his eyes. He finds himself chained tightly to the wall. Standing before him is Sans Parton, gazing down with open contempt as he mocks Ryan's pitiful state, the disgraceful son of House Sermon. Though Ryan knows exactly how everything unfolded, he plays the fool. With feigned confusion, he asks why Sans is here. Sans laughs and proudly admits that he kidnapped him. Ryan calmly warns him that what comes next will not end well. Sans bursts out laughing. To him, Ryan is nothing more than a powerless failure. Without warning, Sans kicks Ryan across the face and sneers, claiming that Ryan's father and brothers must already be dead. He goes further, explaining that Truno sold Ryan to the Parton family in exchange for information about eyewitnesses to his brother's disappearance, because they were worth saving. Ryan was not. Calling him a useless burden, Sans declares that the war between their families has only just begun. This kidnapping, he says, is merely the opening move. That is when Ryan lifts his gaze. A green light erupts around him as a magic circle activates beneath his feet. Sans freezes. Still bound by chains, Ryan calmly declares that he has been waiting for this very day ever since returning to this life. Nothing happens. Sans relaxes and laughs again, mocking Ryan for his empty theatrics. Then Ryan activates another circle. Silence. Sans opens his mouth. No sound comes out. His chant fails. His magic collapses. Panic flickers across his face. Desperate, Sans fires a firebolt, a spell that does not require chanting. Ryan had expected this. After all, Sans was ordered to capture him alive. The family head did not want Ryan dead. Sans smirks, already planning to cripple Ryan's leg. His father would not object to that. But he makes a fatal mistake. Ryan activates mana interference. The firebolt dissipates uselessly. Sans stumbles back in shock and draws a dagger, lunging forward in fury. In the next instant, Ryan snaps the chains apart. Freeing himself is effortless. He steps forward and releases paralysis magic. Sans collapses instantly. Sometime later, Sans awakens. Now he is the one chained. Ryan sits calmly in front of him, a dagger resting in his hand. Sans laughs nervously and tries to break free, assuming the chains are ordinary restraints. The moment he exerts strength, a violent surge of electricity tears through his body, leaving him screaming in agony. Ryan rises and walks toward him. I carved magic circles into your body, he says quietly. Sans' blood runs cold. This is a forbidden technique, engraving magic circles directly into flesh, activated by blood itself. In Ryan's past life, the same method was used on him. First came awakening magic to prevent sleep. Then came endless agony as scars were carved into his body, over and over again. Still reeling, Sans stammers that Ryun should not even be able to use mana. Ryun does not deny it. After his rebirth, he practiced relentlessly. His past life experience carried him forward. 3 months ago, after obtaining mana pills, he trained every skill he could. The greatest advantage, however, came from a secret he learned in Edian. Every skill has a circuit. Every circuit follows a principle. Mana is injected into a player's unique circuit to activate it. Only true masters even know these circuits exist. With that knowledge, Ryun had no difficulty reclaiming his strength in this life. He had also visited this place in secret long ago, memorizing its layout so capturing Sans would be effortless. The magic circle carved into Sans was originally meant for Ryun. Now, it serves its true purpose. Ryun meets Sans' terrified gaze and smiles faintly. "It's time," he says, "for you to experience real pain." After tormenting Sans for a while, Ryun finally turns to leave. Desperate, Sans stops him. Ryun glances back calmly and tells him that he has more than enough time to escape before the Parton family arrives, 1 week from now. Sans' eyes widen in shock. When he demands how Ryun could possibly know that, Ryun answers casually that he overheard Sans ordering his subordinates to return in a week. Panicking, Sans tries to deny it, insisting they could arrive at any moment. Ryun immediately sees through the lie. If reinforcements were truly close, Sans would have tried to keep him trapped here so they could kill him together, instead of desperately trying to mislead him now. Sans continues to plead, but Ryun has already turned away. "I'll come back tomorrow," he says coldly. With that, Ryun leaves, fully prepared for what is coming. 7 days later, members of the Parton family stand before the hidden facility. The leader asks if anyone managed to contact the young master during the past week. One subordinate replies that although there was no contact, they carefully monitored all routes leading in and out of the area. The leader frowns. By direct order of the family head, Ryun's sermon must be retrieved immediately. When the others attempt to follow him inside, the leader orders them to stay behind. Descending alone, he senses something wrong the moment he steps inside. As his foot touches the floor, a magic circle activates. He instantly erects a defensive barrier, narrowly blocking the attack. Now certain something has gone terribly wrong. He surveys the area and notices dozens of hidden magic circle traps layered throughout the structure. Whoever did this is skilled. Creating a second barrier, he forces his way deeper, determined to reach Sans and identify the culprit. At last, he reaches the inner chamber. What he finds makes his blood run cold. Sans lies chained to the wall, his body broken, blood pooling across the floor. The man immediately breaks the chains and demands to know who did this, but Sans is barely conscious, unable to answer. Nearby, Ryun is also present. He sits slumped in a corner, tied with rope, appearing completely unconscious. Sans weakly begs for a healing potion, but the leader refuses. Escape comes first. There are too many traps, and the enemy's identity remains unknown. Still, something bothers him. Why would the culprit leave Ryun behind? That means there is another motive. Finally, Sans forces out a hoarse whisper. It was Ryun's sermon. The leader turns sharply toward the boy. Raising his hand, he prepares to cast magic, only for Ryun to suddenly appear behind him. The figure in the corner vanishes like smoke. An illusion. Ryun attacks instantly, challenging him head-on. A violent battle erupts. Spells and blows are exchanged as the structure trembles. Eventually, the Parton Archmage lands a devastating punch, sending Ryun crashing to the ground, blood spraying from his mouth. The man sneers. "I can't kill you," he says coldly, "but I can torture you just like Sans." Before he can take another step, Sans lunges. A dagger plunges straight into the man's neck. The Archmage collapses, eyes wide in disbelief. It is only then revealed. Ryun has possessed Sans' body using soul transfer, his true trump card. Even more terrifying, the caster of soul transfer retains control over their original body as well. As the man dies, Ryun immediately pours a healing potion over himself and rises to his feet. He exhales slowly. A high-ranking Parton Archmage, dead. A system notification appears. Quest completed. Level increased to 15. Ryun frowns slightly, confused by the sudden level drop, but he pushes the thought aside. There is something far more important to do. Dragging the Archmage's corpse into a separate room, He lays it carefully on a wooden bed. A person's circuit remains bound to their soul. That means while inhabiting San's body, Ryun can still manipulate mana. By deliberately draining his mana, he begins lowering his level to meet the requirements for the assassin hidden class, Shadow. The process succeeds. He still has 2 attempts remaining. The first fails. The second, success. Ryun straightens slowly, eyes gleaming in the darkness. The real hunt has finally begun. Although the plan was never meant to go this far, Ryun makes a decisive choice after defeating the Archmage. He will pursue a 3rd advancement. His target is the hidden job known as Ghost, the very job that once allowed Edion to become the strongest existence alive. Ryun is confident that he can obtain it as well. The requirement is dangerous, the size and resilience of one's soul. Ryun does not hesitate. Without wasting a second, he initiates the 3rd advancement. The process is brutal. Offering up his own soul feels like being torn apart piece by piece, and for a brief moment, even Ryun feels genuine fear. Then, success. Just as the system prepares to announce the result, an overwhelming sense of anxiety floods him. His vision blurs, his soul trembles, but he endures. The notification completes. Phantom-level ghost job acquired. Ryun exhales slowly. A phantom-level job is something he has never encountered before. Still, he assumes it must be an advanced evolution of the standard ghost class, and that alone makes it terrifying. With this complete, he refocuses on the original objective. Killing the Archmage was never just revenge, it was necessary. Advancing as a ghost directly increases his combat strength, and now that requirement has been fulfilled. Moving forward, Ryun activates Lich Creation. Normally, this ritual requires a level 70 Necromancer or a 7-Circle Mage. Ryun meets neither condition, but his unique status allows the attempt. The ritual fails. In response, the system activates a special undead creation instead. Moments later, a humanoid undead entity materializes before him. The system prompts Ryun to name the creation, when a sudden explosion rocks the building. Outside, the Parton subordinates immediately go on high alert. Not long after, Ryun, still inhabiting San's body, emerges from the ruins, carrying Ryun's real body over his shoulder. Calmly, he explains that the Archmage betrayed them and caused the catastrophe. He claims the Archmage has been restrained using a powerful artifact, but urges everyone to move quickly before the binding breaks. At the same time, he insists on personally returning Ryun to his family. Mounting a horse, he orders the others to guard the Archmage and promises them a reward if they succeed. As he rides away, this becomes the last time anyone sees the young master. Back at the Parton estate, servants report the incident to Phyrus, the family's 7th-Circle Mage. When one servant mentions that the Archmage's body has not been recovered, Phyrus calmly asks if anyone else knows. When the servant confirms that he alone is aware, Phyrus orders his immediate execution. The reason is simple. If news spreads that the Parton family kidnapped the Sermon family's heir, the consequences would be catastrophic. Before Phyrus can continue, chaos erupts outside. A representative of House Sermon has arrived and is cutting down servants indiscriminately. Phyrus shouts for the man to leave, but the visitor refuses. He demands to know what happened to Ryun Sermon. The explosion, the missing child, and the Parton encampment all point toward their involvement. Phyrus denies everything, claiming ignorance, and adds that their own young master, Sans, is missing as well. He suggests a joint search. The visitor refuses to believe him. Tension rises. Trino, standing nearby, silently prays for the situation not to spiral further. Then a woman steps forward. Senna. She orders silence and openly calls Trino a traitor, but spares him, stating that Ryun himself spoke on his behalf. Trino, trembling, mentions that Ryun once said he would leave behind a trace that only House Sermon could find. Senna immediately begins searching. Not long after, she finds it. Sans Parton's body hangs from a tree. A note is pinned to his chest. I am the kidnapper. Please punish me. But Senna finds something else, a sealed letter. She reads it in silence. In it, Ryun explains that his original plan was to remain in Sans' body and destroy the Parton family from within. However, the risk of discovery was too great. Worse still, returning as Ryun would immediately spark a war that House Sermon is not prepared to fight. So he has chosen to disappear. For now, Senna burns the letter and orders Truno to return home. Somewhere else, a boy named Ryan runs through a bustling town when a man calls out to him, saying the guild leader wishes to see him. The boy smiles and heads inside. It is Ryan. Much later, Lady Senna receives confirmation of a long-whispered truth. Ryan's sermon is the Dragon of Dree. 3 months later, in Painton, the capital of the Painsjoy Kingdom, rumors swirl through the streets. People whisper about the confrontation between House Parton and House Sermon. According to the official story, a traitor from House Parton kidnapped the bloodline heir of House Sermon. In the end, House Sermon accepted Parton's compensation, yet neither the culprit nor the kidnapped child was ever found. That failure made many suspicious. Once a legendary household that guarded humanity's front lines, House Sermon now appeared utterly fallen. At the Martin Assassin Guild, Sapphire, the branch manager of Painton, quietly observes the shifting situation. She remarks that House Sermon seemed far more desperate for compensation money than for recovering their remaining bloodline. Across from her, Duns gulps down his beer and casually brings up the execution of manager Truno. Sapphire explains that Truno had cooperated with the traitor, which is why Alejandro personally carried out the sentence, swift and merciless, with a single strike of the blade. The thought unsettles her. Alejandro is a sword master, an existence so rare on the Dree continent that most never see one in their lifetime. Yet he performs executions himself, without delegating the task. At that moment, Ryan enters the guild. He greets his Uncle Duns before heading into Sapphire's office. Without ceremony, Sapphire slides a recommendation letter across the desk. It officially registers Ryan as a guild member. Although he still has one remaining test, Sapphire waves it off. For someone like him, she says, the test is meaningless. After all, Ryan reached the final stage in only 2 months, a process that normally takes 5 to 10 years. She openly praises his talent, something she admits the guild has not seen in centuries. Ryan puts on a modest smile, attempting humility. Sapphire sees through it immediately, though she notes that his act is far better than when he first arrived. 2 months earlier, Ryan had appeared out of nowhere at their relatively obscure guild. Disguised as a beggar, he slammed a staggering sum of money onto the counter and requested an assassination. The target? Himself. Since the guild accepts any job with sufficient payment, Sapphire initially treated him as a valuable client. But she insists it was not just about the money. Her instincts told her she would never meet another client like him again. After accepting the letter, Ryan leaves, wanting to read it in private. Not long after, a masked man named Carl arrives. He asks Sapphire if she truly accepted Ryan into the guild based solely on intuition. She shakes her head. Ryan completed every phase of training in a single month. That alone made him an anomaly. When asked about the investigation, Carl reports that Ryan was supposedly raised by an unnamed master who later disappeared. Ryan joined the guild to search for information about that master. Because of his strange request, he underwent thorough verification before admission. Carl even visited the location where Ryan claimed to have lived with his master. The site showed clear signs of long-term habitation, nothing fabricated. Still, Sapphire voices her concern. What if Ryan is actually Ryan Sermon, the missing young master of House Sermon? The timing matches too well. Carl dismisses the idea almost immediately. Ryan Sermon was known to possess no mana, no sword talent, and abysmal stamina. It would be nearly impossible for the two to be the same person. As Carl continues his report, Sapphire cuts him off. He cannot investigate Ryan forever. Instead, she assigns him a new task: uncover information about Ryan's mysterious master. Elsewhere, Ryan listens to their entire conversation from his room using a necromancer surveillance skill. He admits to himself that Sapphire's intuition is dangerously sharp. Opening his status window, he notices something reassuring. The levels consumed during his job change have fully returned. Investing mana into body domination was worth it. Not only did it alter his appearance, but it completely blocks mana detection. He has refined it to the point where even the shape detection skill of a second-rank great assassin can be deceived. That same day, an undead girl named Cornac appears. She possesses an unusual and highly refined skill set. Ryan immediately recognizes her as a growing undead, a rare existence. What truly surprises him are her phantom-type abilities, which were never mentioned in her skill description. When he examines her circuit more closely, a hidden quest appears. Its requirements are vague, demanding that he uncover secret conditions to complete it. Only then does Ryun realize something. The completion notification appeared right after defeating Archie. The fusion of Hand of Death, Phantom, the skill circuit, and the hidden quest ultimately resulted in the creation of Cornac. At the moment, she is little more than a mana-eating monster, practically a parasite feeding off Ryun's reserves. Still, he is not bothered by it. To him, growth is never about the present. It is about what something will become in the future. Someday, Cornac will be useful. Lost in thought, Ryun is interrupted by Duns. When asked what he was mumbling about, Ryun casually replies that he was just imagining the day he officially becomes a guild member. Maybe even the branch manager someday. Duns laughs and tells him that at his current rate of growth, that dream is far from impossible. He then grows serious and mentions the 3 final candidates. Only one of them will pass the test. Passing means becoming an official guild member and a 5th-grade assassin. Soon after, Paula, Ryun, and Ryun stand before him as Duns announces the start of the final examination. He asks for the target's information. Ryun steps forward and presents his findings. The target is Alok, a 47-year-old merchant who owns several shops. He always travels with 3 guards, 2 bronze-grade warriors, and 1 silver-grade mage. According to rumors, Alok recently took a young concubine and visits her every night. During those visits, the guards deliberately give him privacy. Duns nods, impressed. Not only did Ryun gather solid intelligence, but he also identified a method to bypass the guards entirely. However, Duns points out a critical flaw. There is no guarantee Alok will actually go to the concubine's room. Ryun stiffens. He had not considered that possibility. That, Duns explains calmly, is why the Martong Guild demands complete information. He then turns to Ryun. And you? Ryun tilts his head. Do I really have to share? The question catches everyone off guard. Even if they cooperate during the mission, only one person will pass. They will not become official guild members together. Because of that, Ryun sees no reason to reveal anything. The other 2 candidates bristle, realizing too late that they spoke prematurely. In the end, they are nothing more than rivals. Ryun goes further, stating flatly that they are not even colleagues. Nothing in their training suggested such a relationship. Duns smiles. That, he says, is the correct mindset. An assassin must know when to use others and when to discard them. He asks if anyone has objections. Both candidates answer no. With that, Duns announces the start of the assassination test, and all 3 immediately scatter. As he watches them go, Duns is reminded of a past incident, the time Ryun himself was the assassination target. The mission lasted 3 days, with Paynton as the operation zone. The special condition was absurd. Ryun had to be registered as a special-grade trainee at the Martong, Paynton branch. The assassins had laughed, confident they would find him within 10 minutes. They failed. For 3 full days, they could not locate him. In the end, they could only praise Ryun's traps, misdirection, and concealment. As promised, Sapphire personally trained him afterward. Back in the present, Ryun reflects that becoming a formal assassin is anything but easy. This target is set at the highest difficulty, and he might be standing at the start of something truly historic. Meanwhile, Paula successfully bypasses the alarm magic and mechanical defenses, slipping past the mercenaries. What he did not anticipate was the presence of additional guards. Unbeknownst to him, Ryun uses the chaos to reposition herself and silently thanks Paula. His mistakes worked perfectly in her favor. Alok has survived countless assassination attempts, which is why he hides in the last place anyone would expect, his main wife's bedroom. Inside, his wife is livid. She berates him for taking a concubine, for wasting family funds, and for drawing assassins to their home. Alok insists that he did not attract them deliberately and claims the room is equipped with the strongest defensive measures available. Ryun listens from the rooftop. After assessing the situation, she silently eliminates 5 ordinary soldiers positioned nearby, clearing the path for a frontal breakthrough. Inside the room, Alok's wife finally snaps. She pulls out a knife, trembling with rage and heartbreak. She accuses him of betrayal, not just emotional, but financial. Alok tries to argue that the business was struggling, but she knows the truth. He used the money to buy gifts for the concubine, Without hesitation, she plunges the knife into his heart. A moment later, she collapses in tears, only then realizing what she has done. Ryun watches as the target collapses, killed by his own wife. She freezes, completely confused. Did she succeed or fail? Her thoughts immediately turn to Ryun. Only then does she realize she never saw him at the mansion, not even once. With no other choice, Ryun returns to the guild to report her failure, stating honestly that the target was killed by his wife, not by her hand. What shocks her most is seeing Ryun already back at the guild. She stares at him, wondering if he even went to the target's residence at all. Not long after, Paula returns as well. He explains that he escaped once the mercenaries began fighting among themselves. Duns listens to both reports, then calmly announces, the commission was not a failure. Both Ryun and Paula stiffen. Duns continues, explaining that Ryun succeeded. He reveals that Ryun manipulated the wife and used her to kill the husband with his own skill. The two candidates are stunned. Duns turns to Ryun and asks for an explanation. Ryun sighs, clearly annoyed that he has to spell it out. He explains that the solution was never the target himself, but the relationship between the target and his main wife. The entire operation revolved around exploiting Alok's internal affairs. Ryun immediately wonders if the branch manager gave Ryun special information. Ryun denies it. Alok was a well-known merchant. Gathering information on him was easy. From Ryun's report alone, Ryun already knew Alok was a liquor distributor who had recently taken a new mistress. While the others were busy collecting surface-level intelligence, Ryun had already completed his investigation and moved on to executing a plan prepared in advance. Paula frowns and asks how Ryun could investigate the target before even knowing who it was. Ryun answers calmly. He did not investigate only Alok. He investigated everyone in the city with bad rumors or a high assassination risk. Long before the test began, Ryun had already built relationships with merchants, informants, and rumor brokers throughout Payton. Since he finished training within 2 months, he spent the remaining time preparing assassination plans for every possible target. No matter who the guild selected, he was ready. It's like revising the entire book, Ryun says, for a short quiz. During that preparation, he learned that one person held a deep, festering grudge against Alok, his main wife, Kelly. Ryun secretly contacted her while she was being continuously mistreated by her husband. He offered her a solution, discreetly commissioned the Assassin Guild. Kelly hated Alok enough to want him punished, but not dead. So Ryun told her that if she hired additional mercenaries and strengthened security, Alok would simply grow fearful and stay safe. And when Alok eventually fled to her room during an assassination attempt, Ryun suggested she frame the incident as a plot by the mistress and her lover. That shock, he claimed, would make Alok repent and return to her side. Kelly was drunk. She accepted the plan. Ryun admits that if events had stopped there, everything would have played out exactly as she wanted. But right before the operation began, he gave her one final piece of information. Alok had used all the money taken from her family, not for business, but to shower his concubine with gifts. That was the breaking point. Dunn still looks puzzled. But how did a civilian woman stab her husband to death so easily? Ryun explains that the alcohol delivered that night had been mixed with a potion he personally brewed through alchemy. To avoid unnecessary casualties, he diluted it and added the mixture to the water supply that the mercenaries also drank. The potion temporarily clouded judgment and greatly amplified aggression. It activated at the perfect moment. Paula's eyes widen as he finally understands. The mercenaries fighting among themselves was caused by the drug. In simple terms, everything unfolded exactly as Ryun planned. The information he leaked, combined with the potion's effects, pushed Kelly's anger past the point of no return. Duns lets out a slow breath, then smiles. He congratulates Ryun on passing the test. Ryun adds one final detail. He will also be collecting the commission fee and an additional charge from Kelly herself. After all, she is now a murderer. Officially, assassins infiltrated the estate, and only the guild knows the truth. Kelly will pay anything to keep that secret buried. Everyone present is left stunned. Judging by the precision, foresight, and execution of his plan, Ryun's level must already be terrifyingly high. Duns dismisses the other 2 contestants, but stops Ryun before he can leave. His expression is grim. What you did? The wife will have to live with the guilt of killing her husband for the rest of her life, Dunn says. There's something you didn't consider. Our guild creates assassins, not monsters. Ryun turns back calmly. I considered that, he replies. That's why I initially treated her as nothing more than an ordinary woman. Then his tone hardens. Until I discovered that Kelly had already murdered every single mistress her husband took. The room falls silent. Ryun continues evenly. Alok was not just a merchant. He destroyed countless lives through drug distribution, predatory loans, and illegal gambling dens hidden behind his legitimate business. Kelly, empowered by her influential family, erased the evidence of her crimes with ease. The families of the murdered mistresses are still searching for their daughters, completely unaware of the truth. Alok knew. He knew his mistresses would die, and yet he kept bringing more home. These details never surfaced in the investigation, Ryun adds, because this was an assassination request for a test, not a moral trial. Even if Kelly claimed she did not want her husband dead, the guild only receives full payment if the target dies. That is the nature of the contract. Ryun looks directly at Duns. Do a client's feelings matter in an assassination? He asks. We kill for money. Nothing more. Kelly never said she wouldn't kill her husband with her own hands. She merely tried to outsource responsibility through the guild. The request was fulfilled, just not in the way she expected. If she lives with guilt for the rest of her life, Ryun concludes calmly, that is not our concern. Duns exhales slowly. So conscience has no place among assassins. If you want to keep your humanity, Ryun replies, then gain enough power to change things at the root. Searching for conscience while accepting assassination contracts changes nothing. With that, he turns and walks away. Sapphire claps once, sharply. She congratulates Ryun on passing the test and announces his promotion to formal guild member and 5th-grade assassin. The moment she speaks, Ryun's level rises. His system notifies him. Philip's respect acquired. Paula's respect acquired. Dunn's expectations earned. Sapphire informs him that he may now accept official guild requests and apply for promotion if he meets the requirements. She assumes he will wait. He does not. Before she finishes speaking, Ryun calmly recites every condition for promotion from memory. Then he asks, without hesitation, how much payment the Alok request earned. Sapphire stiffens. She reluctantly explains, 10 gold as an advance, 10 gold upon completion, and another 10 gold paid by Kelly to conceal the truth. Ryun nods. Even if it was a test, he says, I completed the request. The additional payment is mine. The promotion requirement is 30 gold from a single mission. He meets her gaze. I've met the condition. The system immediately offers him the option to apply for promotion to 4th-grade assassin. Sapphire warns him not to become arrogant. The guild has its own laws, and real assassins only begin at 4th grade. Mostly, though, she is irritated. His behavior disregards the hierarchy and the others. Ryun states loudly that he will not withdraw his application. Sapphire raises her voice in anger. But Dunn steps in. As the examiner, he says, I confirm that Ryun is qualified. It was not arrogance. It was proof. Ryun did not rely solely on elaborate schemes. He demonstrated overwhelming physical assassination ability, flawless body control, and precise execution. He won using the core principles of an assassin, backed by brilliant strategy. And more importantly, Duns adds, this is a perfect chance. Either they gauge Ryun's true limits, or teach him a lesson he will never forget. Sapphire falls silent, recalling the tag game. That time, Ryun relied mostly on traps. This time, she wonders what he will show when he stops holding back. Sapphire finally agrees to the promotion test, warning Ryun that assassins must be prepared to risk their lives for it. Ryun accepts without hesitation. Later that night, Ryun, Sapphire, and Duns sit together drinking. Duns explains that the earliest the promotion test can be arranged is 1 or 2 months from now. Until then, he offers to personally train Ryun. Ryun politely declines. He says he intends to rest until the test begins and informs them that he will be leaving the guild's territory for a while. Now that he is a formal guild member, he is permitted to travel freely. He assures them that he will return before the test and will stop by the Martin branch to check for updates. They continue drinking together until everyone is satisfied. Ryun knows this will be the last stretch of freedom he gets. Once he becomes a 4th-grade assassin, missions will come endlessly. If the target is a branch leader, there will not even be time to sleep. So he leaves before that happens. He arrives at the Dark Zone, the land of the dead. Not long after, a noble procession approaches. A noble riding with his knights spots Ryun and immediately demands to know who he is. Ryun struggles to his feet, claiming his leg is injured and that he can no longer walk. He begs the noble to give him a ride to the nearest village, saying he will die if left behind. The noble scoffs arrogantly, saying he would have killed Ryun outright if he were not in a hurry. Ryun notices immediately. The man is not in a hurry at all. He continues pleading, and a voice from inside the carriage orders the noble to take the child in. The noble, Kennel, refuses to let Ryun ride in the carriage and instead places him on the horse behind him. As they ride, Kennel questions him, and Ryun introduces himself vaguely. Kennel sneers, saying Ryun is only alive because of the young lady in the carriage, and that he is lucky to have met her. Ryun remains silent. This was not luck. It was planning. The young lady is Scent Rose, a direct blood relative of the Rose family and bearer of the Rose crest. Ryun had cleared all dangers in advance and learned that the Rose family's procession would be using this same road. That is why he had been quietly living in the outer territories of Faintstroy. However, something unexpected happened. The Rose family collapsed, and Scent was forced into exile. Ryun already knows that only minor nobles remain on the border now. These escorts are not true knights, merely private soldiers granted knighthood in name. As far as his investigation goes, the fall of the Rose family is deeply connected to the Sermon family. One of the knights mutters, asking why House Sermon is involved at all. Another knight scoffs, claiming the cunning Sermon family assassinated the Rose family's head to hide evidence of secret dealings. Ryun stiffens when he hears that. They stop for a short rest later that night. From what Ryun learns, the downfall of the Rose family traces back to the recent conflict between House Sermon and House Parton, between the Kingdom of Darren and the Kingdom of Faintstroy. Years ago, the eldest son of the Rose family became affiliated with a rival nation. He later joined House Sermon as a knight, forming close ties between the two families. While on duty in the Dark Zone, he was killed by a monster. In response, House Sermon honored the Rose family with massive aid and support. A rival family, one that had long resented the Roses, used this as an opportunity. They publicly supported Sermon's actions while secretly fanning the flames of suspicion. Eventually, the head of the Rose family was assassinated. Rumors spread that the Roses had been secretly working for House Sermon, and that Sermon killed their head to erase evidence. The Rose family insisted it was actually House Parton behind the assassination, but the truth no longer mattered. House Parton was rapidly rising in influence, and no one wanted to oppose them. With their family head dead and their power shattered, the Rose family was exiled toward Darren. Only a handful within the Rose family, those who did not abandon Scent Rose, know the truth. As Lady Rose sleeps inside her tent, the remaining knights spread out around the camp. Some stand guard. Others sit near the fire, listening to Kennel talk. And Ryun lies quietly among them, already calculating how this meeting will shape the next stage of his plan. Kennel keeps talking, going on about how the Parton and Ani families are the truly corrupt ones, while House Sermon has always tried to help others. The guards cheer at his words, their spirits clearly lifted. Meanwhile, Ryun quietly slurps his soup beside them. One of the guards glances at him, wondering if the kid is bored by all the political chatter. Instead, Ryun raises a calm concern of his own. Is it really wise, he asks softly, to speak so openly about matters like this in front of a random child, especially during an exile mission? The guards shrug it off and continue talking. One of them points out that Lady Rose is the one suffering the most here. She, Kennel, and the newer knights simply lack experience. They have not yet grasped how dangerous this situation truly is, especially when it comes to the Ani family. Ryun understands immediately. The head of the Ani family is a notorious womanizer who has had multiple assassination requests placed on him at the guild. Ryun personally rejected every single one. The risk-to-reward ratio was terrible. Despite his revolting lifestyle, the man is obsessively cautious about his own security. And if someone that paranoid is targeting Lady Rose, camping out in the open like this is madness. Just then, Ryun catches movement in the darkness, a brief leap through the trees behind them. They are already being followed. He decides not to alert the camp. Attacking now would only make things worse. Instead, Ryan slips silently into the shadows and begins setting traps. Simple, efficient, designed to delay rather than kill. By the time he returns, the guards stare at him in confusion, wondering why the kid is suddenly covered in dirt. None of them realize that dozens of traps now wait in the forest behind them. With that done, and armed with everything he learned about the Rose family earlier, Ryan quietly retreats to his tent. He plans to leave at dawn. The next morning, the group resumes their journey and eventually reaches Daesum village. Kendall glances at Ryan and asks what a child like him plans to do in a village so close to the dark zone. Ryan lies easily. He says he is a merchant who deals in monster materials. Satisfied, Kendall prepares to move on, but before Ryan can leave, the knight stops him and hands him a healing potion. Lady Rose's orders, he says gruffly. Ryan is caught off guard, but he accepts it. The caravan soon departs, leaving him alone on the road. He drinks the potion immediately. Just then, thunderous hoofbeats roar past him. Ryan turns and instantly recognizes them. The pursuit party. Mercenaries, swordsmen, mages, and at their head rides Garuda Ani, second son of the Ani family. They rush by without sparing him a glance. Ryan frowns. He is genuinely surprised they caught up so quickly, even with all the traps he prepared. Then he notices something else. The potion bottle. Up close, it is clearly expensive. Why would Lady Rose give something like this away when she is practically a fugitive, when her family has almost no chance of winning? Ryan knows Garuda will catch her eventually. It should not be his problem. At least, it was not supposed to be. But now that he has taken something so valuable from them, he cannot shake the feeling that he owes them something in return. With a quiet sigh, Ryan opens his magic circles and summons Cornac. Drawing on all of her power, he gives her first command. As the Rose family presses forward, Kendall suddenly senses something wrong. He immediately raises the alarm. Move. Now. He orders, urging everyone to increase their pace while motioning for Lady Rose to hang back. Though confused, the others obey without hesitation when he makes it clear that mana users are pursuing them. With the border close, Kendall quickly sets a contingency plan. If the pursuers catch up, the two frontliners are to grab Lady Rose and escape at full speed. Taking command, Kendall turns around and charges back down the path alone, fully aware that the Ani family's knights far outclass him. He is buying time. Meanwhile, the Ani family's mounted force reaches the mountain pass and comes to a halt, staring in surprise at the lone knight standing in their way. At the same time, Kendall reins in his horse and positions himself squarely in their path, raising his blade and ordering the riders to turn back. His resolve shatters the moment Garuda Ani pulls back his hood. Kendall freezes. Though some of Garuda's men mutter that revealing his identity is reckless, Garuda does not care. Their mission is simple. Kill everyone, he orders calmly, except Lady Rose. Without hesitation, he commands his mercenaries to seize her before they cross the border. The riders surge forward. Kendall tries to intercept them, but a mage's blast slams into him mid-charge, hurling him off his horse. He crashes to the ground, badly injured. Gritting his teeth, he forces himself to rise, only to see Garuda's knight step forward. Kendall's blood runs cold. It is Saiso, his former captain, once the pride of the Rose Knights. Bought with gold. Without wasting a word, Saiso clashes with Kendall. In only a few exchanges, he knocks the sword from Kendall's hand. Pressing his advantage, Saiso urges him to abandon House Rose and serve a new master. Kendall spits blood and refuses, even if it means death. Garuda gives a curt signal. Finish it. Saiso raises his blade, and a green flame tears through his back. He barely has time to gasp before Cornac unleashes a barrage of spectral fire, erasing him completely. Garuda survives only because his mage reacts in time, erecting a shield at the last second. Near the border, chaos erupts. The Rose family's carriage is obliterated. Only two knights remain, standing desperately in front of Lady Rose as Ani mercenaries laugh and mock their resistance. As the situation turns hopeless, Lady Rose steps forward herself. Calm, composed, she orders her knights to lower their weapons. Then she presses a knife to her own throat. If you want me, she says evenly, take me, but spare my men. If you don't, I'll end my life here and now. The mercenary sneers. As long as you haven't reached Darren, you're not a noble, he replies. You're nothing. In a flash, another mercenary appears behind her, ripping the knife from her hand. The Rose Knight moves to strike. But before he can, Ryun appears out of nowhere. A single kick slams into the mercenary's face, sending him flying. The second mercenary stares in shock. That shock deepens when Ryun calmly announces himself as a Martin assassin, adding that he arrived with a down payment of soup and a healing potion. Lady Rose's eyes widen. She understands instantly. I'll pay 30 gold, she says quickly. Kill them. Ryun tilts his head. 30 gold, he replies, covers one mercenary. His gaze flicks toward the battlefield. There's still Garuda Ani, his knight commander, and a mage. Lady Rose stiffens. If she hesitates now, the exile will fail, and House Rose will truly fall. Swallowing hard, she nods. I'll give you everything you ask. Ryun smiles. Deal. In the blink of an eye, he launches forward. The mercenary hesitates, wondering if Ryun is truly an assassin. After all, he revealed his identity so openly. And dies. One clean strike. No hesitation. No mistake. The first conquest under the Martin name begins for Ryun, with the price set at everything. But as Ryun stands in that brief moment of triumph, laughter erupts behind him. The mercenary he struck down rises again, bloodied but grinning. You think that's enough? He snarls. He swings mid-attack. But Ryun is already gone. The blade cuts nothing but air. Both mercenaries immediately shift tactics, launching a synchronized assault using position-switching swordsmanship, attacking from opposite angles. Ryun responds by activating body control and acceleration. He appears everywhere at once. Left, right, behind, above. The mercenary strikes miss again and again, their coordination breaking as panic sets in. They begin to suspect illusions. They decide to wait for a perfect opening. They never realize. It's already too late. Ryun flashes directly in front of the two mercenaries. Before they can even process his movement, he calmly informs them that physical weakening curses and deterioration warnings have already been placed on their bodies. The moment they try to react, their strength drains away. Then Ryun moves. In a single, merciless sequence, he slashes them apart from the inside out. Blood sprays across the ground as both men collapse, lifeless, before they can even scream. As the sun rises, the survivors slowly regroup. The wounded are treated, the fallen are accounted for, and the shattered remains of the carriage are pulled together as best they can. Exhaustion hangs heavy in the air. Not long after, Kennel returns. The moment he arrives, he scans the area in panic, immediately asking if everyone is safe. Seeing him alive, Lady Rose finally breaks down, tears welling in her eyes as relief washes over her. Ryun watches quietly. Of course they're safe, he thinks. Because I was here. Some of the guards whisper among themselves, wondering if Kennel somehow defeated all the pursuers alone. Kennel shakes his head and explains that he received help from a mage who appeared out of nowhere. With that assistance, they managed to capture Garuda Ani and defeat the traitorous knight. As they speak, the air ripples. Responding to Ryun's magic circle signal, Kornak appears. She casually drops Garuda's battered, bloodied body to the ground as if discarding trash. Kennel stiffens when he sees Ryun clearly for the first time. Recognition dawns. This is the same injured boy he helped earlier. Before he can speak, Lady Rose reveals the truth. He's a Martin assassin. The words hit hard. Kennel's mind races. Suddenly, everything makes sense. The mage's overwhelming power, the ease with which enemies fell during the chaos. Hearing the word Martin, Garuda's survival instincts kick in. He desperately offers triple the reward if Ryun lets him go, knowing full well that assassins value payment over people. Ryun's expression darkens. Annoyed, he activates his spell without another word. Garuda is split cleanly in two. Silence crashes down. The act is brutal, but deliberate. Ryun turns his gaze to Lady Rose, making his message unmistakably clear. This is what happens to those who try to evade payment. Terrified, Lady Rose nods immediately. Satisfied, Ryun approaches her and speaks calmly. He explains that he does not need the reward immediately. He understands the Rose family's current situation. However, he insists on a verbal contract, one that will remain secret until the time comes. Lady Rose agrees without hesitation. With the terms set, Ryan suggests they resume their journey. He reassures them that the guild will handle the bodies once they leave the area. Turning to go, Ryan takes a few steps. Wait, Kennel calls out, clearly impressed by how Ryan managed everything. Combat, negotiations, and restraint. He wants to say more. Ryan simply winks. He snaps his fingers and vanishes. The guards stare in shock. But Kennel is thinking of something else entirely. The undead Ryan summoned was no ordinary creation. It spoke fluent human language. More terrifyingly, it defeated both Saiso and the mage almost simultaneously. Kennel swallows hard. If someone can command an undead of that caliber, there is only one possibility. Ryan may be a disciple of the most legendary necromancer in history, Veda.
That's it for now. For more Manhwa recaps, please subscribe to my channel, Manhwa Recaps.